Defoe. I'm one of the science teachers here at Graduation Alliance. And if Rachel hasn't told you, I might be your teacher, I might not be your teacher, but please, you can still ask questions in this session because the course materials that we have are the same. And so I'm going to be covering topics that would be the same no matter who your teacher is. So, okay, today I'm going to talk about Earth spheres, and I'm also going to look at some vocabulary strategies. So I'm actually going to be looking at Earth Science Semester 1, but then it also goes into Semester 2. So this is kind of a huge concept topic in Earth Science because we're going to be talking about all the different parts of it. And then, of course, vocabulary strategies, which, like I said, it goes into everything. Life, we're always coming into new words, and then, of course, in all of your different subjects as well. Yes, and if you have questions, again, I am talking about, I'm going to go over Earth Science, but yes, we will, let me get to that next one here. So you can see an idea here of what I'm going to talk about, okay? I am going to go over Earth spheres, but then of course, I'm also going to offer some opportunity to ask questions a couple times here in this session. So this will give you the opportunity. So if you are maybe in biology, which is another big course that we have, I can answer specific questions about biology as well during that time. So please don't just get discouraged if you're hearing me talk about Earth Science. You're like, well, wait a minute, I want to know about biology. There's a chance for you here and here to ask questions about biology as well. Okay, so I apologize for getting started here late with all of that. So talking a little bit faster than I usually do. So I'm sorry if I'm going too fast, let me know, but I'm trying to get us caught up here. Okay. So let's get into this, the Earth's spheres. Okay, so we're talking about characteristics of Earth. When you think of our planet, how would you describe it? Or what characteristics make our planet, the planet Earth, unique? And of course, you might notice in here this nice image might give you some clues. And I can see this. Oh, there we go, water. Of course, yeah. Did you catch my little clue there? Yeah. Sorry, guys, I didn't put in there as well. You can totally use your chat function as well. So there's a little chat board where you can type in questions, respond here, give feedback. Another opportunity you have to interact, which is great. So awesome. Yes, thank you, water. Yes. Do you guys know what the nickname of Earth is? You ever heard that before? Earth's nickname? It's called the blue planet because, of course, all of that water that we're talking about. Okay, so when we think about major characteristics here on Earth, the Earth is the third planet from the sun, and we always say third is best because we have life. Now, scientists have come up with ideas and have found evidence for life on other planets, but are they sustaining life? Is there life there right now? Just here on Earth, okay? So that makes us pretty unique. Also, we have this atmosphere, which we're going to be talking about a little bit more here in a second. So we think about, the gases that are above our planet. And we also have this perfect temperature here on our planet using that sun's energy. And that has to do, of course, with the atmosphere. It's trapping in that sun's energy that's making our planet this perfect temperature of, hot and cold. If we didn't have that atmosphere, Earth would be too cold for us to survive. We've got magnetic poles. Kind of weird to think about it, but on the poles of our planet, we've got these giant magnets, and they help deflect solar winds, flares, storms that might be coming from space, from the sun, or you could think about, meteors or asteroids coming into our planet as well. Another characteristic is that Earth does not sit straight up and down. So sometimes we'll see, like, you look at this picture and you're like, well, this is a good one. Okay, so it's a little bit tilted. You can see how the Earth is kind of tilted. It's not like centered, so to speak. And that's because the Earth sits on what we call an axis, and it's about 23 degrees. So thinking about that little tilt, it's like you just want to turn that picture. You just want to rotate it a little bit, but it's there for a reason. The reason why we have that axis is it allows for, the right amount of sunlight and heat to hit our planet in the right spots. And it's part of this tilt of the Earth along with the rotation. So as the Earth is spinning, it's rotating around for day and night. We face the sun, and then, it gets darker, nighttime, we face away from the sun. And then, of course, our revolution around the sun. This gives us the reason for our seasons. And I talked about that in the last couple, I think 2 sessions back. I talked a little bit more about that. So that position of the Earth sitting on that tilt has a huge impact on us. Okay, so those are some major characteristics, but let's look at what we're talking about here, the spheres on Earth, okay? We've got these characteristics that make our planet great, but when we think about it, we want to break it down even farther. And we can say that Earth has got 4 major spheres. And what we kind of call this is we say everything in Earth systems can be placed into one of the 4 major subsystems. We say water, living things, air, and life, okay? But of course, we've got better words for that. We've got science terms that describe those spheres. So these 4 subsystems of our planet, so think about the whole entire planet, it's made up of these smaller systems. And that's a huge thing in science as we talk about systems, all these different parts that have interactions together, okay? So the 4 major subsystems here on Earth, or our spheres, is we've got the lithosphere. And the lithosphere contains, or we talk about it being all of the solid Earth. So kind of like the land and also the different layers of the Earth as well. So it's the solid portion of our planet. We've got our atmosphere, which is the gases, the air up in the sky. We've got the hydrosphere, which is the water. And then of course we have the biosphere, which is life. So those are the 4 major spheres that we find here on Earth, okay? So this is where it starts in earth science as we talk about, you know, kind of how our planet came to be, and then it talks about the characteristics of the Earth. And then as it goes through the semester, we talk about each one of these in more detail, okay? So that's why I was saying, it kind of goes through, again, earth science semester 1 and earth science semester 2. So here, another little graphic showing you kind of the breakup, you know, of those spheres. And I like these pictures because it's showing that each one of these, you know, it's kind of using like a pie chart. And it's showing that, you know, if we think about it, there's 4 pieces to this pie here. And they're all the same size. And they're all connected in together to make this whole entire sphere of our planet. And it's showing that, you know, each one of these is of equal importance. So we can't have, you know, we wouldn't have Earth if we took away the lithosphere. Each one of these systems is necessary for our planet to survive and for life to occur on our planet. Okay, so let's take a look at each one of these a little bit. We think about the hydrosphere. Okay, so again, we talked about Earth. We saw the water as one of those major characteristics. Again, more than 70% of the Earth's surface is covered in water, which could be in the form of oceans, lakes, rivers, ponds, marshes, all of those good things. Okay, so 70%, it's actually 71% about. So a huge chunk of our planet is water, hence the blue planet. Okay, all of these bodies of water together form what is called the hydrosphere. And in that hydrosphere, we get a system called the water cycle. And that is looking at the transformation of water, how water moves throughout the hydrosphere on our planet. And it does that in different states of matter. So we say, you know, the 3 different states of matter, solid, liquid, and a gas. So we think about solid water, we're talking about, you know, the ice on the tops of those mountains. We're talking about polar ice caps and glaciers, okay? When we think about liquid, we're talking about all this liquid goodness in the rivers and the lakes and the oceans. And then gas, kind of weird to think about, but, you know, right here around us, hopefully you've got, I'm sure you do, you've got some water in the air surrounding you. Sometimes you'll hear them talk about, maybe in a weather report, or you'll see like on a weather forecast, they'll talk about humidity. And that's looking at how much moisture there is in the air. And it's there in the form of gas. We call that water vapor. Okay. Another little image there, kind of show you again, you know, all the parts to the hydrosphere, including that water cycle and how the water can transform in the different states of matter. Let's go on to our next sphere, the lithosphere. The lithosphere is also known as the geosphere, okay? And this might be a little helpful if you think of geo, you probably think of maybe like geology, geography, you know, we're looking at, you know, the structures of Earth. The lithosphere is made up of the Earth's crust and the upper brittle mantle, and the sphere covers the entire surface of the planet, including the ocean floors. And I like to kind of go over this sentence here, because when you think ocean, I automatically think water. And so I'm like, wait a minute, that's hydrosphere. But when we think of what's underneath, what's at the bottom of the ocean? there's rock. It's part of the lithosphere, okay? So there is a solid structure that surrounds our entire planet, and that's the lithosphere. It also contains the topsoil that is composed of both organic and inorganic material, so that is living and non-living things. So you think about soils and little organisms, worms growing in that, living in that soil. And this is important because it provides us with this growing medium where plants and trees can grow and allow for photosynthesis to take place, which is necessary to sustain life here on Earth. So the lithosphere, again, it gives us that structure where plants, trees can photosynthesize, they can produce oxygen and also produce energy for all the other consuming organisms here on our planet. So it's pretty important there. Okay. Also, what happens in the lithosphere is we talk about plate tectonics, which is a big part of Earth science in semester 1. We talk about the different layers of the Earth. And what's happening is inside the center of the Earth, it's very, 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 very hot. And what's happening is heat is like heat is moving outwards. So think of convection current. Heat's gonna move upwards. It's gonna mix with cooler, denser land material. Gravity is gonna pull it back down. So lithosphere has helped driving that, that plate, the tectonic movement. So our plates moving very, very, very small amounts has to do with the lithosphere. Okay, if I'm going too fast, you guys, or if you have questions or want me to go over something, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll go to the next sphere, which is called the atmosphere. And again, you go into Earth science, we have a little section, a unit that talks specifically about the atmosphere. And this includes all the air and the sky that surrounds the Earth. It's important because it provides us with the oxygen we need to breathe. There's one, it protects us from the harmful UV rays emitted by the sun, as you think about summer coming to an end. Oh, and it shields us from space rocks called meteors. So not only does it give us, of course, this air that we need to breathe, but or keep that air that we need, but again, it protects us, shields us. So again, important parts to the atmosphere, just not as a container of the air that we need to breathe. The atmosphere also traps in important heat from the sun. The sun's ultraviolet rays coming in or trapping some of that heat energy here on our planet. And what's important is the atmosphere, it's like it knows the right amount to keep in and the right amount to let go. So it produces this, nice stable temperature consistently for our Earth to survive. In the atmosphere, water exists in the atmosphere in the form of water vapor that eventually condenses into clouds. So as we think about evaporation taking place in water, so say like a lake or the ocean, evaporation is taking place. So that water in those water sources are getting heated up, small little molecules turn into vapor, a gas. They move up into the atmosphere where they condense together and make, form those clouds. And then of course, part of that water cycle, it calms back down in the form of, precipitation. In the form of rain, snow, different parts. Thinking about the atmosphere as well, not only do we have, different layers in, say, the lithosphere, but we have different layers in the atmosphere. And each layer behaves differently. And you can think of, as you see in this picture, there's a lesson in our science that goes into more about each one of these layers, but we can think of where airplanes fly, where jets are, where satellites are. Okay, has to do with these different layers here in the atmosphere. Also, we talked about that greenhouse effect. You'll see more about this in Earth science, and I did a couple lessons on it as well. So think of that atmosphere as like a giant greenhouse. It's keeping that sun, so here's the sun's energy coming into our planet. It's keeping some of it, trapping it in that protective layer here, but also letting some of it out so that we're not too hot and we're not too cold. Our last sphere is the biosphere. And the biosphere consists of all the living things in their non-living environment, from microscopic bacteria to massive blue whales. What's also important to know about the biosphere is it's not just the living organisms that we consider the biosphere. We also can consider, where they live, so their habitat. So from oceans, waterways, rocks, soil, mountains, canyons, each of these together with all the living organisms compose our home. So think of the biosphere as more as, you know, the home. Let me show you another picture to explain that. So let's say we've got a mole, okay? We know a mole is living, it's an organism, it's an animal, but that mole lives here in the ground. And so this would be considered part of the biosphere, not because it's made of rock or anything, but because it's providing that habitat. So when we're talking about the biosphere, we're talking about the living organisms and their home, so to speak. Okay? So fish that live in, you know, the sea here. The sea would be part of the biosphere because, of course, that's where the organism lives. So when you think about that, you can see that sometimes you can place an object into more than one sphere. Let me say that again. Let's talk about this sea right here. So we consider the sea to be part of the water cycle because it's water. But we can also consider this portion where that habitat is, where their home is for the fish, as part of that biosphere as well. Okay, so there can be some crossing going on here. Same thing like with that, you know, the soil. It can be part of the lithosphere, but in this case, we're talking about where this particular organism lives. So that's also part of the biosphere. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Just stop me if you need to. So end here with one little image that kind of shows, you know, it's very simple, but I like it because, again, it shows you. Here you've got life. Here's our biosphere. Here's you've got the structure that is supporting that life, the lithosphere, so the rock, the hydrosphere, the water, and then the atmosphere, the gases in the sky above, the space above. So I like this picture because it's nice and simple, shows you each one of those spheres. Okay. In Science Semester 1, Unit 511, there's a couple multiple choice true and false questions that go along with Earth spheres. And so I just quickly wanted to move a little fast there with my cursor. Sorry, guys. So I just want to cover these quickly, which I'm sure you guys will be able to answer these as well. Help me out here. So water exists in the atmosphere in the forms of, I already heard it. What was that?
B?
B. It is B. Yep. It's water in the atmosphere is vapor. So think vapor is a gas. So again, we've all had the opportunity to boil water before when we're cooking, and we see that steam. Again, that's vapor. Water in the form of gas. And so that's moving up into what we say is the atmosphere. So B is the correct answer, vapor. 2 over blank percent of the earth is?
B.
B. B is my favorite letter today, huh? Yep, you're right. Over 70%. That is correct. 71%.
Well, you say 71%, yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, so over 70, so we get 71 in there. Okay, good job, you guys. This sphere covers the entire surface of the planet, including the ocean floors.
I think it's D.
What?
I believe it's D.
I think it's D, the hydrosphere. This
A. A.
Lots of multiple ones. Okay, so actually I put this one in to get edited, and I kept it up here just in case you see the older version of it, just because this was a confusion one. So what I did was I actually edited this out. I did this it was done on Monday, and curriculum, they're so awesome. They did it right then that morning. We took out this portion, including the ocean floors, because like I said earlier, when I see that ocean, your mind thinks water. So that's where you get the hydrosphere. So if we just look at the top part, the sphere covers the entire surface of the planet. That's the lithosphere. So that's that hard substrate of our planet that provides us with that foundation for us to live, okay? So it is a lithosphere, okay? And again, this has been removed. So when you do come to this question, you will no longer see that in there. But just because I want to cross my T's and dot my I's and everything like that, I left it in here just in case. So yeah. You know, and if you come to questions, that's a good point right there. If you come to questions throughout the course that you think are, you know, misworded or tricky, you know, you're always welcome to, you know, send it to your teacher and be like, you know, I just think, you know, I think we could do better on this. We'd love to get feedback, hear your guys' ideas. Because again, we're not trying to trick you guys at all here. So if you find something like that, where it kind of tricks you, let me know. We can fix that. Okay, number 4, water on Earth is found in 3 states of matter. This is true and false. 3 states of matter. Is it water, ice, and snow? What do you think? Is that true or false? 3 states of matter.
I say it's false.
False.
Oh,
It is false, yep. The 3 states of matter are a liquid, solid, and a gas. Okay, somebody says, I'm confused because doesn't the Earth cover 70% in water? Yes, so over 70% because it's about 71%. Over 70% of the Earth is water. So if we looked at the whole entire volume is what they're looking at, 70% would be the water.
Oh, sit down, baby.
Last little question here. This is a drag and drop activity. And as you're working in these soft talk activities, you might see some of these kind of interactive ones as well. And so what they want you to do is you've got your 4 spheres and then you've got a description for each one. And so they just want you to drag it to the correct one. So the first one here, all the land that we see and interact with is part of which sphere? So think of all the land, think of all of the rock, the structure, the substrate, the foundation of Earth. What sphere is that?
Is that the lithosphere?
You got it, thank you. Yep, it is the lithosphere. So you would take this one, and this is a screenshot, so you would drag it up and it would lock into position, okay? So in the end, you would get it to look like this. The hydrosphere is all the water on Earth. The atmosphere, the air and sky that surrounds the Earth. Lithosphere, all the land we see and interact with. The biosphere, all the living things in their non-living environment. So again, talking about their home. Okay, so quick little review of those questions there. And that was my quick little presentation to you guys on the Earth spheres. Like I said, you know, you cover this material all throughout both Earth Science semester 1 and semester 2, and you go into more depth about what occurs within each one of those spheres. So I wanted to give you guys a good little foundation though for each one of them. Okay, does anybody have any questions about those or questions about something else? I was thinking we were gonna get some biology.
Yes, I have some biology questions about the mitosis and the different stages.
Okay. Is that, Katrina, is that you talking?
No, it's Ricky.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Yeah, I saw that. Mute, unmute. Okay, great. So the stages of, in biology, mitosis and, was it a particular,
it's the stage.
I know in the lesson it goes over, it's a short little kind of lesson on the stages, or the phases, the steps in mitosis. So in that lesson, they talk about each one of them. I'm sorry, I just got a little blurb, but my internet connection is unstable. Hopefully it'll stick with us here. Were you talking about in the lesson, or was it the activity?
It's the activity that I'm having problems with.
I get you. I've had that question before, and I was just writing up an answer key or a teacher key to kind of go along with that. And then we've been working on rewording the questions in that assignment as well. And so if you haven't seen the newer version, I apologize. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, it's the one where you have to count the cells and everything, and I'm having problems trying to figure out that. It's just confusing.
I understand. Let me pull it up, and then I'll share my screen here with you guys. Just give me one moment while it pops up here. Yeah, we worked on rewording that one this week.
Ah.
Okay, can you see this? It should say stages of mitosis.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so here in this activity, you will review what you just learned about the different stages. So what it does, it shows you a picture of the different stages. Let me get to that here in just a moment. Click out of this. Sorry, guys. Your task is estimate. Okay, Ricky, this is what is important here, is this estimate. Okay, estimate the number of cells, because when you look at the picture, it's pretty hard to count how many cells there are.
Right.
They want you to estimate the number of cells you think belong to each phase of the cell cycle and record your data. Explain what occurs in each phase. Okay, so as you're looking, you know, you have this picture.
I don't like that picture.
It's hard. It's hard because, of course, you're looking under a microscope. And so as you get, you know, you're nice and focused here, but as you move to the outer edges of that slide, it gets blurry. Okay.
Right.
We're looking at an estimate. So in the teacher key, you know, it says, you know, in the answer key, it's like this, there is not a set amount. The learning purpose, the learning target is, can you explain what happens in each one of these phases?
Okay.
This is what it is that they're looking at here. Okay, so you could say, and then it lists off here, telophase, you know, prophase, interphase, metaphase, and anaphase. And we remove these little dots as well, because some people are like, well, I'm supposed to like click on it. And no, they were just used as a heading to kind of show you.
They actually come up with every picture for each one. You got to explain each one, but I'm having my problems is defining the difference of each one and how to identify them.
Okay, so let's take a look at one of the phases here. Okay, so then
see, that didn't come up on my thing. I didn't even have on my class, didn't have this part of it.
This is
the diagram of it.
This is the lesson. So before the activity, so we've got activity 3.2.1. This is the actual lesson that comes before.
Okay, I must have not seen it for some reason.
Okay, so right here then, they explain what each one of the phases are, and it tells you what happens, okay? So where chromosomes condense, become visible. Metaphase, chromosomes line up at the center of the cell. Anaphase, chromosomes begin to pull apart to opposite directions. And then the fourth phase, they're pulled and stretched to different parts, to different.
Okay.
So they want you to use this information and then go into
the activity and figure it out from there.
And then, so if you look at these pictures, you know, you can see you've got like a dark circle here. And then you can see in this one, you can see some separation taking place.
Mm-hmm.
In this particular
I'm watching out for my son too at the same time.
The cells have been, they have split apart. And so here you're looking at two completely different steps at the last phase. On these particular ones, you can see this is the chromosomes being stretched apart, and you see those spindles. So,
so that's how I would be able to figure it out if the different phases is by the different ways the cells look.
Exactly. And so they're looking for an estimate. So as we think of interphase is where the cell spends most of its lifetime, is in interphase, and that's just normal functioning. So there's no replication going on. They're not going through that process of spreading apart. So you're gonna look here and you'll notice that most of the cells are in that phase of interphase. And so, you know, you could estimate, you know, you could go through and count, you know, you could say there's 10 across and 10 down. So you could say there's 100 cells here, you know, and you could say probably not that many.
Right. But you just want an estimate of how many cells are there and then describe what I see and stuff.
Yep. So you would say with interphase, you would explain, you know, this is where a cell spends most of its lifetime. This is in the normal functioning of a cell where it is not going through replication. And that's
okay. Now I understand.
What you're trying to add to.
And so then as you're looking at, you know, the last phase, you would go in and explain, you know, this, you can see right here, you know, 2 completely new cells have been produced. And so that would be your final stage. Okay, so again, it's an estimate of you see, and you see more of interface. And then what the learning goal is to be able to explain, you know, can you explain what happens in each phase?
Okay, that's understandable.
Good. Okay. And
I was just really confused on that one.
I understand. I'm glad you asked that question because yes, we are.
Thank you, teacher.
Getting reworded. You're welcome. I'm glad I could.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, I saw a couple chats here. Oh yes, you do not have to memorize. Where did I go here? Da, 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 da. Yeah, you don't need to memorize. So like Rachel has said, you can use a page of notes when you come into your, when you go in to take the final. I'm actually going to go over something that might be helpful. I'm going to go over some vocabulary that might help you with kind of understanding or remembering those spheres and make it a little bit easier. Sorry, I'm just going through all these chats. Yep, that's exactly what Rachel said. A tip would be pay attention to the prefix, which I'm going to talk about here in just a second, because that is a skill that I use in vocabulary. Oh, that has just worked so well for me, is looking at the roots of the words and looking at bio and what does bio mean and hydro, and seeing that connection between those words, and that'll help you get that characteristic for each one of those spheres. So I'm actually, if you guys are ready, did we have more questions, or do you want me to go into that vocabulary right now?
No, I don't have any question.
Okay, where did you go? There it is. Okay, so that was a great point there. How can we help ourselves remember all this information? Because it's a lot to take in. And like Rachel said, you do have notes that you can use for the final exam. It's not about memorizing. It's about, using skills and tools like decoding and concepts of systems and putting things together is what we're looking at kind of in our learning target. So it's not just about memorizing here. Can you guys see it should say vocabulary strategies? Back to the presentation. Do you guys see?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. So thinking about how can we use our brain to remember these types of things. So vocabulary, you're always going to come along with new vocabulary in science and all your other courses as well. So the first thing I always like to say is when you're thinking about vocabulary and you're going through the courses, you can always come back and you can look at, say a glossary. In some of the courses, we have unit vocabularies, glossaries, where before you start the unit, you actually get, like in biology, it gives you a nice vocabulary. So sometimes it might be handy if you are taking notes as you're going through the course, which I think is a great suggestion, because then every time you go through, a lesson, you can jot down, copy and paste in, the important learning goals from that unit in there. You can also keep that vocabulary in there. Okay, I always like to say, use help when looking at vocabulary. So read the sentence and the sentences that are around that particular word to try and kind of piece in together what it means. Also, look to the pictures or a diagram. So when they talk about DNA, they say DNA is characterized as a double helix. Okay, so not only are you working with DNA, but you've also got this, okay, it's characterized as a double helix. Do you guys know what a double helix looks like?
No.
I know after years and years and years of, looking at this and looking at this, I know. But at first, I don't know what a double helix is. But if I look at the picture, a double helix is like a ladder. That means there's 2 sides to it. So when they're talking about a double helix, 2 sides. So think of DNA as 2 parts, And then you've got these little rungs to the ladder. And what happens is that ladder, just think of a ladder, is then twisted. That's a double helix. So you've got two sides that are twisted together. So again, look at the pictures, look at the diagrams to help you. That's a great way when working with vocabulary as well. And then my favorite, look to the roots, okay? So as we talk about Earth spheres, okay? The first question is, well, what is a sphere? What do you guys know already about a sphere? You've heard that word, I'm sure, throughout your lifetime.
It's a 3D system.
It's a shape, yeah, it's a type of shape, and you guys know that it's three-dimensional. Yep, it's round. So right there, you just decoded, you know, that word just by using your background knowledge, what you already know. Sometimes that's all we need to do is just really think about, give ourselves a moment to think about the topic. Because, you know, we've probably heard it, filed it away in there in our brain, and we just need a second to pull it out. Okay, so we think about Earth spheres. We're talking about this three-dimensional round shape that makes up our Earth. And then as we look to each one of those spheres, hydro, what does hydro mean?
Water.
Water.
Yeah, so okay, you've heard the word hydrate. There you go. It comes from, you know, needing water. So hydrosphere is looking at the cycle of water. Litho. This one's a little bit trickier. I should have switched around.
Isn't it almost like the lithosphere?
It is the lithosphere, so that's what we're talking about. And so litho actually means stone. And so as we think about, you know, these root words and putting them together, bio, what does bio mean?
Like living, I think.
Yeah, so you think of biodiversity, biology, you know, looking at these prefixes and then determining what it means. So when you see bio, you're looking at life, so something that's living. So the lithosphere is looking at all of the living organisms and their habitat, their home on Earth. Biology, the same thing. If we break those two up and we look at, you know, bio, life. Oops. Can I spell today? Ology. Ology. Do you guys know what ology means? Yes.
No.
Well, you've got geology, biology.
Study of something?
The study.
Science.
Yeah,
Oh.
you got it. Yeah, so biology is the study. Okay, same thing here with the word biodiversity. So again, if you break those two up, you've got bio and you got diversity. Bio means life. What does diversity mean?
The study of the living?
Diversity.
Life.
Somebody says
Different kinds of life.
different kinds, yes, variety. So the different kinds of life. So when we're thinking about biodiversity, we're looking at the variety of life. Awesome. Okay. So again, this is my favorite. When it comes to science and remembering and kind of accessing that information, is looking to these words. Can you break them down? Okay. So that's a great one. So when you're thinking about how do I remember the different spheres? Well, you're not going to be asked to list out the different spheres. You might be asked, you know, a question like which sphere contains all the water. And then you might have some, you know, different choices, fill in the blank or a word bank to help you with that. So you would know, you know, just by looking hydro, water, there it is, hydrosphere. Okay. Again, we talked about that, activate your background knowledge. What do you already know about some of these topics and vocabulary words in science? So we think of photosynthesis. Photo. We can take this word and we can break it down. Photo. Do you guys know what photo means?
Light.
Light.
A picture of?
You've got it. Yeah.
Energy.
So yeah, you think of a picture, a photo, and what it has to do is, yeah, photo means light. Okay, so you're thinking about why we have a picture called, why is it called photography? Picture, we use the word photo for it because it's using light to capture that moment. Synthesize, if we're synthesizing something, we're putting together or we're making. So we're using in photosynthesis, it's using light to make energy. Okay. So again, activating that background knowledge. Awesome. See, you guys already know the science stuff. Photo means light, synthesize, to make, use, transform, create. So we're using light to make energy. Okay. So again, I always highly go back to the strategy. It's the best way I can. I know whenever I'm looking at something new, I'm like, what does this mean? The first thing I do is, I go through, can I break these words down into, can I break their, roots or prefixes into words that I already know to help me understand. And if you already have it in your mind, like photo, it makes it easier to remember. It's already kind of filed away in there. And so you're just adding to it. Nice job, you guys. Okay. Any other questions? Just went through some quick vocabulary strategies, looking at those prefixes. And here we talked a little bit about biology.
Can I throw another biology question at you? Okay, also the other one I'm having a problem with is the photosynthesis in the ecosystem.
Photosynthesis and ecosystem.
It's in the biology part.
Is it in unit?
It's right after, the activity is right after mitosis and stuff.
Oh, it's back in that unit?
Yeah, it's in the same unit. Same spot.
Let me share my screen because I'm not sure. DNA life cycles and mitosis.
Yes, ma'am. That looks like it's right. It drives me nuts.
No, anytime, if you've been working on this for a while, please, don't let it drive you nuts. Send me a quick chat. Send me an email. Please, if you're spending, more time and you're feeling yourself getting frustrated over it, don't, please. Let's talk.
Yeah, well, see, I'm trying to get back into my schooling and stuff and everything because I've had multiple seizures lately, and it's kind of messed my brain up a little bit.
We're here to help you get through that. I'm glad you came back. Okay, so this has some different multiple choice type.
The one I was at, the phase right there is what I was having problems with.
Okay. So, which phase of mitosis is highlighted in the cell?
And I've been racking my brain, and it looks like interphase to me, but I just was having a hard time trying to figure out.
But
they confused me.
Interphase?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
So in interphase, we're looking at, a cell that's pretty round and we can just see the nucleus. Again, interphase is talking about that kind of resting stage of a cell. So here what we're looking at is we're actually seeing, these are the actual chromosomes being stretched. Okay. And so they've been duplicated because you can see them on both sides. So here's the cell wall right there. Okay. And so then the chromosomes have duplicated, and now what's happening is they're being stretched and pulled apart. And eventually they'll move to two different sides, and that cell will split. So if you go to mitosis,
and it would been like a anaphase.
The third phase of mitosis is which the chromosomes begin to pull apart and they go to opposite sides. Okay. Yeah.
Now I'm seeing the other lesson that's on your thing that I'm also having problems with is the autographs and heterographs one.
Okay.
I just seen it on your little thing there.
Oh, right there. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go to that vocabulary that we just talked about. What does auto mean?
Means like something that's automatically going to happen?
Yeah, so it does it on its own. So autotrophs are what we consider to be organisms that can make their food on their own. So you think about a plant, okay? A plant goes through photosynthesis. They can make their own food. And again, that's automatic. A plant doesn't, you think about it. Do they have like a brain that says like, oh, I'm hungry. Let's make some food. No.
Right.
A plant just it needs to have these different parts, you know, energy, carbon dioxide, food, and oxygen. Carbon dioxide, energy, produces.
Right.
So autotrophs are going to be organisms that automatically, on their own, produce their own food. Heterotrophs, hetero means different. So they have to consume energy elsewhere. So they have to find different means to get the energy that they need, okay?
Okay.
We eat the consumer, or we eat the producers, right?
Okay, so what else, you know, how is it to get the difference between the hydrosphere and the autosphere? I can't pronounce those words.
Heterotrophs? All they're saying is all organisms fit into two different categories.
Okay.
They're either an autotroph and a heterotroph, okay?
Okay.
Autotrophs, another name for autotroph is producer.
Oh, okay.
Another word for heterotroph is consumer. Where does it say that? Here we go.
So,
Yep.
so the plant would be considered the consumer, right?
Nope. A plant is going to be a producer because they're producing the food. They're making the food on their own.
Okay.
Okay. Consumers, like us, we are the heterotrophs because we're different. We have to go out and consume different. We have to find a different way to get our energy. We have to eat either other consumers or producers.
Okay. So that's the difference.
Yep.
Excuse me, I'm choking on the water.
You're good. Autotrophs automatically make their own food. They're producers.
Okay, and the heterotrophs are the consumers.
Yep, we have to find different means to get our food.
Okay, so that would go along with the ecosystem and everything like that, right?
So yeah, these make up two different categories in an ecosystem. You have to have producers produce the food for then the consumers to consume.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking. I love to be able to help and get your answers, your questions answered. Oh.
Yeah, because it's been racking my brain.
And again, if you guys ever get stuck, please don't get frustrated. We know that frustration can be not make you feel so great about yourself and about school, and we don't want you to get discouraged. Again, I'm sure, you know, always think that you can ask your teachers questions. That's what we're here for. And sometimes it just you need somebody else to say it in a different way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I apologize, you guys, for the late start, the little mishap with that, but I hope you guys had a nice little conversation with Rachel. She's wonderful. She's also here to help support everybody as well. So thanks you guys for sticking around. Thinking about next week's live session, if again you have a topic, if there's a course that you're in, or think of a unit, thinking about where you might be next week, and you're like, hey, could you do something on, you know, food chains or food webs or wherever it is that you're at in your science course, shoot me a message. I would love to, you know, think about my next lesson for next week around something that would be beneficial to you guys. So please, if you ever have an idea, shoot it to me, chat, email, what works for you, okay?
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having this.
Oh, we'd love to hear that. That makes us feel good, and it's nice to see that these are, you know, valuable for you guys and for us as well, because I love to see and hear you guys. Thanks for your interactions today as well. That was nice to have that. Makes me feel like, you know, we're all part of this teacher, student, school community again, right?
Yeah, thank you. And where we find this after the finish with you here?
So there will be, Rachel, do we still do the links? Do they get emailed out, or do we have a,
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's actually on your student dashboard on the far left side underneath the tab that says need help. There's one that has study sessions, and it lists all of the study sessions on a weekly basis. So even if you're not enrolled in a class, if you're just interested in the subject, you're more than welcome to attend. And we do have some students who do that, but you can see also, you know, if you have another class you want to do science, and if you're in English, you can go to the English sessions as well. I've been sending out a reminder email about an hour before each session, just, you know, hey, you can still go. But the dashboard's probably your best bet, just because then you know what's coming up that week and you can plan for it.
And then the previous lessons, is there a link on the dashboard that goes to the mentor library?
The YouTube channel is not linked. We should probably do that.
You can find it just by, I know I found it if I go to YouTube and type in.
Yeah, so we just share. So all these recordings are uploaded to YouTube, and then the teacher or myself can send them out in a chat message or through email. And then there's an entire channel. So all of the subjects, all of the recordings that we've done are archived. So you can actually go back and watch other videos as well.
Yeah. And I made a little bookmark on YouTube for that, so I can go to it pretty easily as well on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I just put the YouTube link in the main chat if you want to just copy and paste that over and save it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, glad that you enjoyed these.
Yes. Okay, you guys, thanks again for joining. Have a wonderful day. And again, thanks for sticking with us. Sorry about that little technology. Oh.
That's okay.
You got it.
Thank you. It's a lot of help that you guys have this.
All right, take care, everyone.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.